season like no other.
And here we are in Nashville, Tennessee, the 25th season of Major League Soccer.
The birth of what could become a super club in Inter Miami.
One full of unforgettable moments.
After a number of doubts, MLS is back.
Players taking a knee. The message that Black Lives Matter.
Portland and the MLS is back tournament trophy. It's the Philadelphia Union for the first time in their history.
But now it's time to capture a new moment, to crown a new MLS Cup champion. Can a newcomer make history? Will a former champion reclaim glory? Or will someone else make their dreams come true? The field is set. Who will raise the cup this year? All right, are we having fun yet, guys? The Audi 2020 MLS Cup playoffs are underway, and if you missed last night, well then shame on you, because that was all kinds of fun. New England beating Montreal after an absolute golazo from Gustavo Bo in extra time. They advance, and then how about Nashville SC? A decisive 3-0 win featuring bangers from Randall Leal and Dax McCarty. We're going to have more on that later on in the show, but today, round one kicks off, and we've got a good one to start us off. Orlando City versus NYCFC, that game at noon on Unimas, and that is followed up by Columbus taking on the New York Red Bulls at 3 p.m. also on Unimas. Also want to point out, everyone, both of these matches streaming on MLSsoccer.com, including enhanced feeds with Second Spectrum graphics. So there's going to be 2 streams available on MLSsoccer.com for each game. And just a reminder, if you're in Canada, I'm very sorry, because only fans in the U.S. can watch this. But either way, so you've got two options to watch these games. Guys, what's up? Welcome to the Audi 2020 MLS Cup Playoff pregame show. I'm Susanna Collins, alongside my guys, Charlie Davies, Kaylin Carr. We're in it. The playoffs have officially begun, and in such a big way. I can't tell you how much fun I had watching these matches last night. New England getting through just a pretty Herculean effort from Montreal, but Gustavo Bo with that absolute banger in extra time. And then Nashville just looking like they had some serious swagger. They advance. Charlie, what stood out to you last night? What'd you love seeing?
From the New England Revolution, it's Carlos Heel, back on the pitch and fit, and what a difference maker he is. 9 chances created, 9 during this match. And it's the first goal, he sets the tone, the ball over the top from Gustavo Bo that switches the point of attack, and then he just takes it one time with a clinical volley, keeps it down, and then Gustavo Bo with the match winner in the 90th minute. But then Nashville, being aggressive, taking their opportunities. You saw the speed from Dax McCarty getting into the final third. I loved what I saw. Both matchups came down to execution, and the Revolution waited till the end of the match to pull away, really, but they dominated most of the match. And then Nashville showed they're continuing to take steps. They have an identity. They're okay with the way they play, and they've gotten results as well.
Well, you knew, Susanna, he was going to mention the Revs. You knew it, and Chuck's been telling us for a while that
of course.
No, but he's been telling us if they get healthy, if they get moving, they can. But, Susanna, I was looking at the slate of games, and I was like, playing games, some inexperience, some first-timers, will it be cagey? Yeah. And then the first match happened, and both teams just threw caution to the wind. And, I mean, a buzzer beater, essentially, to end that one. And then the next one really was just one-way traffic, and mostly right down the middle of the pitch, Matuidi mostly watching, credit to Dax and Leal from just taking advantage of the opportunity. So Nashville, I think, clearly the standout expansion team of this year, and now with a lot of momentum heading into the next round.
I think for me, guys, that was probably the biggest takeaway from last night, was how good and how decisive that win was for Nashville. You know, this is their first season, their first taste of the playoffs, and they came out with that much intensity and confidence and swagger. And as Charlie said, they have an identity. They know who they are. We heard Gary Smith yesterday talking about kind of the grit and determination that this team has developed over the course of the 2020 season, and it was on full display last night. And so I do think, Kaylin, I think they do have a little bit of confidence moving forward. And I keep saying it, but guys, 2020, anything can happen. One of the best things we saw last night was the goal from Dax McCarty, who basically just, took it upon himself. They gave him room, and he ran, and then he rifled a laser into the back of the net, and the Extra Time boys were able to catch up with him after the game, and this is just gold. Here's what he had to say.
Well, let's talk about one of the goal scorers tonight. Dax, you clearly have world-class speed. What does it feel like at midfield when you just kick in the afterburners right here and you're like, nobody's going to catch me?
Guys, listen. When you've been around the block as long as me, you wait for these moments in the playoffs where you never score any good goals throughout the regular season. So when you get into the playoffs, teams just drop and they have to respect your speed like this. And so you guys know how it is, right? Like I very rarely kick it into high gear when I'm out on the field. But when I do, it's a little scary. It's a little intimidating. You put me next to Alphonso Davies, and if I kick it into high gear, you're not sure who's going to win that race. So I understand why Miami backed off.
I mean, I can't tell you how much I love Dax McCarty, number one, but that was so great. Kaylin, you spoke to him. What was your takeaway from that?
Awesome. Dax versus Alphonso Davies. That's a race. Maybe,
right?
I don't know, but I love it. Dax's celebration. I mean, he's one of the better personalities. But when you look at just the impact that he has had along with Walker Zimmerman, the MLS experience, the know-how, the playoff savvy. I mean, that was just a moment where he was able to really, that cemented the win for them. And I think it's going to be a historic goal in that club's history as well. So kudos to Dax. It was fun to have him on.
It was awesome. Guys, just a reminder, after all the action today, join the Extra Time crew for a special edition of Extra Time driven by Continental, the post-game live show. They will have all the reactions to round one that we're going to see today.
That's right.
You got it.
They came in together. One backed by prestige and power. The other by people and passion.
13 years after the lights went out in Florida for MLS, they're not only being switched back on, but they are blazing.
But on that fateful March afternoon 6 years ago, their destinies were forever intertwined.
A goal that will be etched into Orlando history, and it's Kaká!
And it seemed every time Orlando City came under the spotlight of history, New York City FC would be there to greet them.
It's never simple, it's always fun, it's always dramatic.
It's only fitting then, as Orlando City debuts on the grandest stage, history will be made once again. Orlando City versus NYCFC in the MLS Cup playoffs.
All right, fellas. Well, since 2015, both of these teams entered the league at the same time, so it's been easy to sort of make direct comparisons. But I think it's fair to say that both teams have fallen short of expectations, but in very, very different ways. Obviously, NYCFC have made the postseason. They've made the playoffs in the last 5 years. Orlando City, though, this is their first dance. This is their first go-around in the playoffs. And I feel like both teams have been given some world-class talent to work with, to help shape and mold these clubs into what they're supposed to be. But it feels like for Orlando especially, Kaylin, this was the year when it all kind of came together. So for you, Kaylin, when we talk about Orlando, what had gone wrong previously, but then what was corrected in 2020?
They came in with massive expectations, right? And that's going to happen anytime you signed a world-class player the size of Kaká. And similarly, over at NYCFC, we came in with Villa and Lampard and Pirlo. And neither of them found success in year one. And it just goes to show, even when you look at it, Inter Miami and Higuain and trying to bring Matuidi and like, it's not easy to just sign big names and then make it work. In fact, for the expansion teams we've seen that have been the most successful, Atlanta United and LAFC, they've taken different paths towards finding success. And it seemed like for a while they were sort of stuck in between, specifically Orlando City, because I think NYCFC eventually figured it out. But they were stuck in between wanting the aspirations and the reality. And then it began to suddenly have a lot of turnover on both clubs, different managers. Every time a new manager comes in, the roster is going to completely change. That's going to disrupt things. And what ended up happening was a lack of foundation, a lack of identity, and a real lack of direction until this year. And that's when Oscar Pareja came in for Orlando City and was able to really bring in some excellent pieces, going out into the market, getting Antonio Carlos and Gallese in the back, as well as developing young players. We saw the emergence of Mueller and the leadership of Nani. So the pieces of the puzzle all really seem to fit together well, but it's really been Pareja who's been able to navigate through a difficult season and make these pieces work.
Yeah, we'll get to Pareja in just a bit. Charlie, some of your thoughts on this, on both teams?
Yeah, for New York City FC, it all changed when they brought Patrick Vieira into the fold and given the team a foundation, principles, how to build out of the back. This is the style we want to play in building the team. Domi Torrent took it over and tried to add something a little different, but not really changing it all that much. And then Ronny Deila was the wild card, kind of came out of left field. And I think for him, it was, okay, how do I really change the way we play? And then realizing, oh, I can't change the way we play all that much. A lot of the pieces here are great. When you talk about Alex Ring, who can play all over the field, what a utility player, and he's so important to the success. And then Max Morales, what a magician in the attacking third, being able to open up so many different defenses and styles. You have a player who can play in any system. And then Anton Tinnerholm, the right back, who's now all of a sudden creating chances, scoring goals. They have so many vital pieces. And I think what happened for them was the attacking play. When Eber goes down, it's trying to figure out, okay, how do we adjust from here? And it's Tati Castellanos, who I've always believed in, who I've always valued as a player and rated, coming in, stepping up, getting the confidence of the coach, and now has taken it to another level.
Yeah, they've experienced the early exits in the playoff rounds previous years, but perhaps 2020 is the year that all changes. Let's take a look. We've got some lineups to examine, starting with Orlando. This is the starting 11 for them. Kalen, what stands out to you here?
Well, it's going to look a little bit different on the pitch, actually, because Chris Mueller will be more advanced and Nani will be slid over to the left-hand side, where we've seen those two really be devastating throughout the year as wingers. And then you'll see Pereira more in the middle of the pitch with Rosell and Urso in behind. And Pereira is a guy that really, they've missed him through stretches of the season, but when he's been there, he has been fantastic. He's a guy that can orchestrate the midfield. He can connect passes and find space in behind where Mueller and Nani can really stretch the field. Chris Mueller's an interesting story because he has really emerged. I mean, he's been talented. We've seen it happen in moments in the past. But Pereira's been able to get the best out of him this year. He was in my best 11, ultimately didn't end up making the final version of it, but he has been an important, impactful player. And then they found DK as well. And after the MLS is Back tournament, getting DK into the middle of the pitch as that number 9, we knew they had the wingers, the talent there. But now you have that fulcrum in the middle that is going to draw attention, it's going to draw bodies. He can connect, he can combine, and he can score goals. In just a limited amount of time, I believe 14 starts, he has 8 goals, 6 assists. So it's a balanced attack and a dangerous one. But Chuck, I know you like this back line as well, too, with Antonio Carlos.
Antonio Carlos, for me, is the best defender, obviously, on this roster. But it's not only his defending, but he's also building out of the back. He leads the team in interceptions in the last match against New York City FC because he comes into the midfield. He can play the long balls, but he also can play the balls to penetrate the line. So I think he's been a wonderful addition. He's also made Robin Janssen look a lot better. And then you throw in Gallese behind them. You can take risks and chances because you know your goalkeeper can come up big.
Okay, great stuff, guys. Let's flip it on over to NYCFC. This is how they are lining up for this one. Charlie, we'll keep it with you. What are you looking at here?
Tati Castellanos. He's leading the line. He's setting the tone, and he had a conversation with Ronnie Dyler about 3 months ago saying, I need to get into a rhythm. I need your trust. I need to be more central, not just running all over the pitch and trying to find the ball and pressing. I'm an attacking player. Let me do what I do. And Ronnie Dyler said, you know what? I'll give you the opportunity. And he's taken it with both hands. And he has 18 shots in the past 3 matches. That's showing he's on the ball. He's not afraid. He's testing the keeper. And then he has 4 goals, obviously, in the last 2 matches, scoring a hat trick 2 matches ago. So Castellanos is in form. And then Maxi Morales, since he came back on the pitch and he's playing 90 minutes, they're unbeaten. 4 straight wins. And we always talk about teams getting fit, coming into the playoffs in a rhythm. New York City FC are in a rhythm. Everyone's fit and healthy. And then Alexander Ring is really the player that you can lean on and depend on. He's consistent. I love the way Alex Ring plays because he's 100% committed to the team. Everything is about making everyone else around him better, organizing the team. So I really like the way they're set up, and this is a strong New York City FC coming in with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one to watch. Well, Kaylin hit on it earlier. Oscar Pareja, arguably the biggest factor in Orlando's success this season. This is what he had to say about their matchup with NYCFC heading into today's game. Let's hear it.
We have to be protagonists. We have to have the initiative. We can't wait to be heard to respond. We are going to hear first. We're going to have the ball. We're going to have all the time that initiative to go and be the one in the game. So I think the boys have absorbed that and then they execute it, and the mentality is there.
Okay, so I just want to preface this discussion by saying that I voted for Oscar Pareja for Coach of the Year. Now, he did not win. That award went to Jim Curtin, who was also very, very deserving. But I can honestly say that since my time starting in MLS in 2016, I've not seen a turnaround with a team like the one we have seen with Orlando City this year. And I think that the way that Oscar Pareja has come in and just completely changed the culture, the identity of this club is absolutely remarkable. Kaylin, what are your thoughts on what Oscar Pareja has done well with this team?
Well, I mean, if you look at what he's done in the past and his pedigree is developing young players and creating a culture and a belief. And I think that's something. Culture is a word that's sort of a little bit overwrought or overused at times, sure. And you don't really know what it means. But I quantify it in a couple different ways. Generally, how do you do late in games? And in the past, Orlando City, they've been able to score goals, but they've always conceded late, and they've always sort of let themselves down in the big moments. And this year, that has completely changed, where he's made the right moves, bringing on the right substitutions late, whether it's DK, whether it's Michel, finding the right pieces, Tesho, coming off the bench to get on the right side of results late in games. And then the other one is just being able to do well in knockout rounds. And look, Suzanne, I know you picked them to go all the way. And I'll tell you what, but you said it was a heartwarming story, but I actually think it's more than that. And when we've seen teams in the past, especially teams that have changed a lot, or new teams, have to go through a process of going through the playoffs where you get knocked out year one, you have to come back again and build yourself back up. They're trying to do this all at once under Pareja, and it starts today. But the thing that helps them, I think, is the MLS is Back tournament, because it's not exactly the same, but in some ways it might be, because there's no supporters really, or not many supporters in the stadium. Difficult conditions, challenging, but we saw in MLS is Back something I think is repeatable. The only thing I would say is he's talked about them coming out and being aggressive and being on the forefront and all that. I actually think this team's a little bit better when they're compact. They get behind the ball. They're tough defensively, and then they use their pace and behind and through the width to find success. So that's going to be something I watch, because if you start to get a little bit stretched against an NYCFC team, you let Maxi Morales get the ball in transition, that's where you can find yourself in some trouble.
Yeah, Charlie, your thoughts?
Yeah, he's spot on. And I love what Orlando have done defensively. This is their best season defensively. They've only given up almost one goal a game. Like that is crazy turnaround when you look at the previous seasons. And so when you have an anchor in the back in Antonio Carlos and Robin Janssen and now Pedro Galese, you can go forward. You can take those chances. And like you said, Kalen, I think when they are defensively organized and they are layered and they have the middle of the field protected, then you can have your outside backs, Huan, and before it was João Moutinho, figuring out who is going to have that influence that João Moutinho did at MLS's back tournament. But you have Mueller, you have these players, Nani, who can break out and create. And so when you get into the attacking half, they are dangerous when you have Daryl Dike, who's literally the ultimate hold-up striker who can combine and now finish. So this team is also in good form and a team that is strong heading into the tournament, and they have a coach that they can believe in.
Love it. All right, 2 teams in good form taking on each other. Round 1 kicks off today, guys. Orlando City at NYCFC. This game at noon on Unimas, and then followed up by Columbus taking on the Red Bulls at 3 p.m. on Unimas. And again, guys, you can stream both of these matches on MLSsoccer.com with enhanced feeds, including Second Spectrum graphics. So 2 options for you. You're not going to want to miss these. These are going to be great. Time now for our Audi Goals Drive Progress. And during the 2020 MLS Cup playoffs, Audi will be donating to the MLS Academies as part of their Goals Drive Progress program. Each goal in the playoffs will be worth $2,000. So last night we saw 6 goals between the 2 matches, totaling $12,000. And guys, these goals, they weren't just goals. They were golazzos.
They were bombazos from 20 yards plus. And when you watch them, you're like, this is what we're getting in the playoffs? I mean, look at this Carlos Gil, the technique, the ball float on the top. All these goals were spectacular. And hats off. My hat is off to these guys.
This one's my favorite. Dax, I thought he was going to do a hamstring here. I thought he was going to get his hammy.
Oh, look at the defending. Look at
what
the defending. What
do they say about Alphonso Davies? Beep, beep, meep, meep.
Yeah.
There he goes.
Oh, you love to see it. Well, speaking of goals, how about this worldie from Darlington Nagbe against Chicago? This one earned him the AT&T Goal of the Year. This is second time winning this award, guys, because when Darlington Nagbe, he doesn't score often, but when he does, they are absolute beauties.
Chuck,
I mean,
if I did this once.
What?
If I did this once, I would try this 20 times a game. I would just
constantly
be flicking the ball up to myself.
You would get the license to do it. I would say, Kalen, shoot. You could hit this in the bleachers 19 times. But if you pull this 1 out of 20, go right ahead. So, Darlington, pull up more. Pull up.
Yeah.
My goodness. Well, Darlington Nagbe and the crew taking on the Red Bulls this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern on Unimas, 2DNA, and MLSsoccer.com. Now, this is such an interesting coaching situation that we have going on in this game, because the Red Bulls head coach, Gerard Struber, who was only announced as the head coach in October after Chris Armas was fired in September, is going to be coaching his first MLS game in what is a basically win or go home situation in the playoffs. He has only spent a couple of weeks with the team since joining them from Barnsley. Bradley Carnell, who was the interim coach for the Red Bulls, had been doing a decent job. They made the postseason. They had they slumped a little mid-season and then kind of turned it around towards the end. This is unprecedented. This is not like anything we've really ever seen before in all of sports, Charlie. What does this put them at a significant disadvantage in this situation, going up against a coach like Caleb Porter, who has proven playoff success in Major League Soccer?
You know, when you look at it from the outside in, you're like, oh, wow, what a misstep. But they always knew Bradley Carnell was just a fill-in coach. And this is a coach who coached a lot of these players in the academy and New York Red Bulls too. So he had that familiarity. But he also knew it was always going to come to Gerald Struber coming in, or any other coach when he first took over, that this was just a brief amount of time on the sidelines leading New York Red Bulls. And he's done a terrific job. He really has. And he's not going away. He's still going to be on the bench. He's still the first assistant right now under Gerald Struber. So it's not like, oh my God, we're completely throwing everything out the window, how we got here, and now we're going to try something different. But Struber did come in and say, we made some small tactical adjustments for Columbus Crew to put us in a better position to win. And so you respect that. And I think all the guys understand this is the way we are going to play moving forward. And he's not just taking out all the players who got them here. They are the players who played well and are in form are still going to be on the pitch. But now you have an identity heading into the playoffs. This is what we're going to do. And they had 2 weeks to kind of hammer it down with Struber.
I was pretty shocked by this. I just think it's so difficult to come in and transition. The only time we could maybe see this was actually at the MLS is Back tournament with Jaap Stam coming in with FC Cincinnati, and he had to figure out his team. I mean, they took a 4-0 loss, and then he comes back the next game and tries to give them a different system. And the thing that worries me is that every time a manager comes in, those little wrinkles or those little changes you make, or that communication or substitution patterns that change things, that can work out well, or you can begin to make changes that don't. And I thought things were going well under Carnell. I think it actually put Struber in a difficult position himself, stepping in. And a lot is going to fall on his shoulders in a lot of ways, where I thought Carnell had a good thing going. Why mess that up right now? Allow him still to take the lead and wait and see.
I will add this.
Yeah,
I think once he was hired, there was direct communication to Bradley Carnell. So it wasn't like Bradley Carnell was just coaching without Struber, even though he was named head coach. So you also have to throw in the times that we're in. He can't just fly here automatically and get in. So they were doing video conferences. They were coaching. They were talking about where this team is heading and who needs to play. So he was still involved in the tactics and what they were trying to do on the field. So it's not going to be that much different. All that you're going to see is a new face on the sideline.
Yeah, he comes from the Red Bull system as well. Comes from I think he coached at Salzburg system. So he understands the Red Bull way. It just seems like a big choice for your first match to step in with a ton of pressure. Or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe there's not much pressure.
I don't know. I think that there's more to lose in this situation if it doesn't go well for the Red Bulls today, because then you're like, well, what, all of a sudden you can look at the decision to have him coach this game and say, well, they shouldn't have messed with it. They should have just left with what was working for the rest of this season. And now they've amplified all this pressure on this one match. That's it. And I think that the negatives of that kind of are outweigh the positives. So I question the decision. I don't know. This could all go incredibly well for the Red Bulls, and we don't know. But it's just it's an interesting dynamic that we have not seen ever. So we shall see how this all plays out. Guys, it's I'm gonna put us all on the spot. We've obviously already all filled out our playoff bracket, but for those that are watching and want to know our predictions for the matches today, let's give them, shall we? Charlie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm not shy from these predictions. Give me New York City FC. They're just playing too well. Max Morales is healthy and fit, and Tati Castellanos is scoring goals. And then for the other game, I'm going with the Crew because Nagbe, as well as Lucas Zelarayan, are healthy and fit and have played 90 minutes. So I'm going with the Crew and New York City FC.
Kalen?
I'm going with Orlando City. I know New York City and Morales, I think 4 games on the bounce, playing extremely well, but I think Orlando in this type of format is going to have a good run. And then on the other side, I agree with Charlie. Columbus Crew, Nagbe, Zelarayan, and Artur sitting behind them. That midfield 3 is going to allow them to break the pressure system of New York Red Bull. What do you think, Suze?
Yeah, I'm with Kalen here. I've signed up for the Orlando
I'm the lone city
train.
guy, huh?
I'm committed. So I got to stick with Orlando in this one. And then, Columbus. I think there's just too many questions on the Red Bulls side. And with a healthy Zelarayan and Nagbe, and Caleb Porter, I like their chances. Okay, guys, great games for y'all today. Make sure you tune in at noon. Orlando City taking on NYCFC on Unimas, followed up by our second game of the day. That is the Columbus Crew taking on the New York Red Bulls. That game at 3 p.m. Eastern on Urimas 2DN. And remember, you can stream both of these matches on MLSsoccer.com and join the boys of Extra Time for post-game coverage. Extra Time, driven by Continental, our live post-game reaction show. I don't know if there will be as much brown liquor involved in this one as there was yesterday because it's a little bit earlier, but never say never, right? Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy the games. We'll see you real soon.